a sustainably challenged podcast.
My name is Sian.
And my name is Simon, and today we're going to talk about the topic of eco-anxiety.
It sounds deep, and it is a bit deep, but it's something that I think is becoming more and more prevalent, isn't it? And it's, as we know, with anything to do with mental health and sadness, the best thing is to talk about it.
Exactly. So, eco-anxiety is classified as a chronic fear of environmental doom. And it was done so by the American Psychological Association in 2017. And eco-anxiety itself is not a condition.
I mean, mental health, as we know, spans so many different things. It just is such a huge spectrum. If we were to talk about something like OCD, I guess that is a diagnosis. Whereas if we talk about eco-anxiety, we're talking about something that has consequences on your mental health.
Exactly. Other names for it are climate anxiety, climate grief, which is a good one, I think, climate distress, eco-trauma. And one of the most famous people suffering from this is our very own Greta Thunberg.
And I think people see that in the way that she talks about the climate. We can see how impassioned she gets and how hurt she is. Often, she is reduced to tears. You can see how deeply she's being affected by this on a really psychological level.
She was kicked into action by her eco-anxiety. And it actually, she herself says that it helped her to overcome a lot of her issues or work on a lot of her issues. And her mum actually says she's so much happier now because she is doing something about it. And I think it's not necessarily that your mental health issue is going to be resolved by taking action against climate change. That's not what we're advocating or saying. But she, in her activism, found a way to do something for the planet and do something for herself.
And you were explaining to me earlier that there are people out there that are sort of blaming her for prompting a wave of mental health issues in a generation, as if she is somehow causing a whole generation to have this sense of anxiety and impending doom about the climate.
Yeah.
And the issue with that is that she's not caused the climate crisis. And if she happens to be pointing out things that have consequences on people's mental health, that's not her causing eco-anxiety. That is her, rallying us to take notice of something.
Yeah. It's a classic don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah.
She is just a messenger. She isn't climate change.
And we could put our fingers in our ears and feel blissfully happy, la 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 la, but that's not going to help anything, unfortunately. And this is something I do find really interesting because the more you engage with something, the more likely you are to feel bad about it. So there's this thing that I was reading about called the dragon of inaction. And it's something that causes people to disengage from something that they really do feel is overwhelmingly important because the overwhelming importance is just too much to deal with. And I think to face it head on is such a brave thing, which Greta embodies.
100%. And I have definitely felt this dragon of inaction myself, especially when it comes to climate change, when it comes to social issues. And, that's fine. Take a step back, take care of yourself. But actually also it can be very good if you take action, because I feel often with mental health issues, and I've experienced that myself, is that I get kind of paralyzed. It's the kind of like, I don't want to get up in the morning because it's so hard, but often it helps so much to take action. It helped me starting this podcast. It helps me every time I go in a climate march, I do something, I, donate to charity or, I change my own habits. It helps me to kind of cope with this eco-anxiety that I do feel.
Yeah. And I think there is a kind of irony to the fact that sometimes the more we engage in those marches, the more likely we are to feel overwhelmed. Because I know, for example, if I think about eco-anxiety in my life, the points where it's really spiked have been when I've been on a march or when I've been with Extinction Rebellion, and suddenly the profound fear of what's happening or just the sadness of what we're doing to the world, it really hits me in those moments. And then I find myself feeling panicked, very upset, maybe tearful. It's like a paradox, and you have to kind of face up to it, to feel it, to then be provoked to do something about it. And then eventually, hopefully, the cycle starts evening out so you don't feel such fluctuating peaks and troughs of emotion.
Also, another way to see eco-anxiety is as eco-compassion. So a lot of people are obviously so disengaged from what is going on in the world. They're fine. They don't worry about it. But there's people who are very sensitive. And I think more and more we are starting to treasure that sensitivity, that empathy that people have, not only for other people, but also for the planet. So I'm not saying, well, maybe I am saying embrace your eco-anxiety and transform it into eco-compassion. Kind of embrace the feelings that you feel, and that can lead you to taking action.
Speaking of taking action, as we are recording right now, there are people on the streets of London, Extinction Rebellion, and I think as of yet there's been about 90 arrests. And being arrested, that's got to impact your mental health. But these people are willing to frickin' put themselves on the front line to that extent. It's amazing. It
is amazing, yeah. And Extinction Rebellion really says, like, you don't, like, if you join a protest, you don't have to get arrested. Like, you know, that is not something that is expected of you, that either you are willing to be arrested or you're not part of it. That's not at all what they're saying. And I think it is a little bit of a badge of honor, which is not necessarily a bad thing because they're fighting for something very, you know, urgent and honorable. But, yeah, definitely I would be so scared of getting arrested.
Would you?
Yeah, that is kind of something that is maybe keeping me a little bit from the front lines.
I feel like times when I have been on the protests, I've been absolutely adamant that I couldn't care less if I get arrested. I've been like, fuck, don't give a shit. Arrest me. Like, I mean, I haven't said that to the police, but that was my internal monologue. It struck me that I would definitely do that and it wouldn't bother me at all. But then, not being there at the moment, sitting in my bedroom, I'm like, would that cause me a little bit of stress, actually? That I didn't really kind of compute in the moment if I had got arrested?
Yeah. Maybe I would be the same, like, you know, be in the thick of it. Like, there's this incredible sense of community that I always find really powerful at the Extinction Rebellion protests. And the thing is, like, Extinction Rebellion takes care of you. You're part of this community. The community is also there for you. So maybe that actually takes off a lot of the pressure and the stress.
Totally. And actually, our good friend Charlotte asked us a little while ago on social media to explain about the arrest thing. And I don't think we ever did. So Charlotte, if you're listening, I'm very sorry that we didn't actually run through it. But just a quick run through of if you are feeling like you want to go and put yourself in that front line and the fear or anxiety around being arrested is something that's a barrier, then maybe preparation is the key. So research solicitors with protest experience and make sure you have their phone number on you. And if you can't get hold of one, then one of the guys of Extinction Rebellion will give you a phone number once you're there on site. If you were to get arrested, you say no comment to anything. You don't have to give your personal details under any stop and search, so don't give any personal details. You can challenge the police to act lawfully to make sure that they are legitimately arresting you. So you just ask them what power they're doing that under. And if they offer you a duty solicitor, you say no because they won't have a specialist protest experience. And that's why you should have your number with you of a solicitor that you know will be, you know, ready to deal with that. So you say no to a duty solicitor. And finally, you do not accept a caution, because a caution is a way of the police making it easier, because then you've basically admitted guilt of something. So we'll recap that on social media, but I find things like that quite useful because it's like, okay, you don't need to feel stressed or anxious when there is a plan and there is a process and I'm prepared.
Exactly. And oh my God, yeah, I'm so glad you brought this up because I think it's such a good analogy for the climate crisis. There is definitely this attitude of like, well, it's all going down the drain anyway, you know, there's nothing we can do. That's just not true. There is something we can do, and I think that is a major help for anyone who is feeling eco-anxiety. Be the change you want to see.
So what can we recommend?
Right, so I went on the Friends of the Earth website, which is great. It's foe.org. They actually have a bit about eco-anxiety, and the first point is that you're not alone. So there is a community out there, be it your friends who are also concerned. I have you, Sian, who's like my eco partner in crime or, in fighting crime. So, find someone, if it's one person, if it's Extinction Rebellion, if it's Friends of the Earth, if it's the community garden down the road, there is a community. Secondly, eco-anxiety is not a bad thing. We talked about eco-compassion, and if you can transfer your anxiety into actually concern, into empathy, into compassion, it might help you as well. Thirdly, get to grips with why you're feeling low, why you're feeling sad. Is it just because of the environment? Then there's something you can do about it. You can join a protest. You can do something every day. Or is it actually something deeper than that? And then we definitely recommend to seek help with the NHS, with the Samaritans. So there is help out there. Number 4 is go out into nature. If you feel eco-anxiety, engage with nature, engage with the environment, and find the closeness out there.
Yeah, find solace.
Yeah, find solace, yeah. And then number 5, the last thing, is do one thing a day to help the environment, help something eco-friendly. And I think we've so far had lots of things you can do, like change little habits, buy soap instead of shampoo, do your recycling, food waste, whatever you feel like is accessible, is easy, get the ball rolling. Listen back to the episodes that we've done so far. Look at our social media. There's lots of great tips and tricks, and there's definitely more to come.
And on that note, I am super, super proud of our friends who listen to the podcast, and maybe some people we don't know who listen, saying, oh, I've tried this out, and feeling this sense of excitement about having heard something in an episode and then kind of buying something new or trying a new habit and then sharing that with us. And that's so great. And we're so proud of everyone and excited to kind of share ideas and learn from each other's failures and successes and all of that. And that brings joy. It sparks joy.
It sparks joy. And I'm so grateful, and we're so happy for it to be growing and more people engaging. And yeah, it really means a lot.
Green, green, green. Pretender. So this has been, I guess, not a very absolute episode as episodes go. I think sometimes we try and come out with things that are like, okay, so this is what we're going to do next, or this is what we won't do, etc.
Tangible things, yeah.
Yeah, tangible, exactly. But mental health, it just isn't tangible. And eco-anxiety, I guess what we would say in summary is however you feel is totally fine, and whatever you do about it is totally fine. And put your happiness first, and hopefully everything else will spring from that. Happy
people and happy minds can do amazing things.
Yes.
We need to be happy eco-warriors to sort this out.
Yeah. So if you feel like you are despairing, speak to us and let's talk about some things and have some ideas together, and let's try and alleviate any anxiety that we're feeling and turn it into positive action.
Yes. All right. And speaking of positive action,
so if you happen to be listening for the first time, every episode we round off with eco whoops and poops. So they're like things that we're getting right, or in our minds getting right, or things that have made us happy in the news, and then things that are maybe not going so well. So my eco poop this week is the media and how they are currently covering the Extinction Rebellion protests. So as we said earlier, about 90 people have been arrested so far, but already there's just a very overriding theme in the media that it's disruptive and it's this and it's that and it's blah, 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 blah. It all doesn't get to the bottom of why these people are doing it. The focus is on what the maybe slightly annoying consequences are of the protest. If you're going to report on that, fair play. I do understand that it can be inconvenience to people, but at the very least, your article should also have a lot of data about the climate crisis and why people are feeling the need to go onto the streets like this. So that kind of, the media imbalance, just, that's a very eco-poop.
Yeah, it is poopy. My eco-poop is a lot more day-to-day. I've been eating out quite a bit.
Have you been helping out?
I've been helping out.
Eating out and helping out.
Eating out, helping out.
It's very good of you, Simon.
So good of me. I have been taking advantage, of the scheme. I have to say I'm not a Tory supporter, but was I happy not to pay full price for a meal? Yes, I was. So we'll leave it at that. And I've also been drinking non-alcoholic drinks with those meals. And I would say 8 out of 10 times they came with a plastic straw. They didn't ask whether I wanted a straw. They just shoved it in there, and then it is already used, so I'm going to obviously use it. But yeah, I thought we'd sort of had this conversation before. It's kind of tiring and a bit annoying that we still use plastic straws. And then this one time, it came with a slick metal stainless steel straw, and it was so nice. So why don't we just omit the straws? Just no straw.
Yeah.
No straw, Simon. That's me.
A glass straw is also very lovely and slick. I don't know if you've ever tried one. I find the metal a bit cold on my teeth. But yeah, it's boring, isn't it? It's like the fact that they're still giving out plastic straws is making us bored of ourselves having to keep talking about plastic straws. It's just so boring. Just stop it.
Exactly. Yeah. I hate listening to my own voice as well. Great thing that I have a podcast.
Yeah, that's a good choice. But on a happier note, let's do some eco-whoops.
Eco-whoop. Okay, my eco-whoop this week is happyeconews.com. Whoop whoop. I found this tiny little website. It's a normal website. It's happyeconews.com, and they focus on the good things that are happening to the environment. Like butterfly numbers are up, things like that. Happy news. So, none of the doom and gloom that we have to read about every day. And it's valid to read about the bad things that are happening because we need to know about them. But also, it's nice that this website is there. So if you're feeling a bit low, happyeconews.com for some good news. What is your eco-whoop?
My eco-whoop is finding joy in our habits. So I'm just really loving buying soap bars. Like the process of choosing a fragrance and choosing a shape and size and really looking at all the ones on the shelves. And even though in the beginning switching to soap bars felt like quite an arduous thing for me, I didn't like it. I thought they were gloopy. I missed my lime flavour, Radox, whatever. But now it's become a ritual of joy and the sense and the feel and the tangible, and then unwrapping it from its lovely paper wrapping and putting it in the shower. Oh, it's all just become a thing. And I think if you can find joy in the habit changes, that really helps to cement them. And that's a way of helping combat anxiety, to just make it a lovely thing for yourself. Treat yourself.
Treat yourself. Don't beat yourself.
Yeah, that's probably a lovely note to end on, isn't it?
Yes, what a lovely note to end on. So, if you're feeling low, if you feel like you need to engage with the community, with the Green Pretenders community, where can people find us, Sean?
We're on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, at Green Pretenders.
You can also drop us an email,
thegreenpretenders@gmail.com. And we'd love it if you would like and subscribe if you're listening to us on Apple, or leave us a comment on YouTube. Just get in touch.
Get in touch. Yes, we'd love to hear from you. And remember, the pod is always greener.
Green Pretender.